Hello again, everybody. James Escarcega along with Fred Robledo here. Big Angeles League game here. We start off another week of Angeles League replay, Fred, and we've got LaSalle versus St. Francis. This is going to be a tall order for LaSalle.
Tough one for LaSalle. Well, I think, St. Francis is showing, James, and you saw that game last week against St. Paul, that, anyone who's going up against them, it's going to be a tall order.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see LaSalle. They've been kind of a mixed bag in kind of the non-conference, but they did have a big victory last week. Granted, it was, Salesians has kind of struggled this year.
But you get one.
But you got one, and they're both 1-0 going into this game. LaSalle has this game at home, and hey, look, they've had some interesting games where they played Arcadia really close. I know they lost that. They've beaten here, right?
They beat here,
and they had another pretty good close game.
They beat Monrovia.
They beat Monrovia. Who look at last week? Monrovia put a thumping on South Pasadena in the Open League. So Monrovia, that really proved out that their schedule was tough. But hey, look, LaSalle's got a freshman quarterback, and that's going to be tough going against a veteran squad and a veteran coach like Jim Bonds. And you made the point last week, James, because you've seen Charter Oak and you've seen St. Francis now. These are two teams in Division III where Charter Oak's #1 and St. Francis was 5 last week. We'll see where they put them when the polls come out.
I'm very
At the end of the day,
interested.
we're doing this on a Monday. But you thought this could be a team that's top of the division. Because you saw them Friday night.
I did.
What impressed you with them?
Team defense. They are so. I did not, and I made this a point to one of the assistant coaches after the game. I didn't see a lot of missed tackles. These guys just tackle so well. They're physical at the point of attack. Their defensive linemen just look like they're in the right spots. St. Paul literally they had 1 or 2 big plays, but that was it.
Yeah.
And you want a great offense, you better have a great defense.
Yeah.
That's where it all starts. And I think that's where, in my opinion, that's where the matchup would be if they played Charter Oak. Is I think it would, that they would have a distinct edge on the defensive line.
Yeah.
And not to mention, and I should think, Darius Parantis was coming off an injury, so he's probably just testing out the back to make sure he was doing okay. He's only going to get better, Fred. And I think if this could be this type of game where he starts making a serious play for himself as the area player of the year.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a few people in that conversation as we get going, but definitely Parantis is in that conversation. And those things are going to play themselves out as we go deeper down the line. I still think St. Francis, it's what happens between now and that finale against Cathedral, where potentially they could both be undefeated in the Angeles League going into that game.
Yep.
Are there going to be any hiccups along the way, and what team can cause those hiccups? Like I said, if that's going to happen, I think LaSalle is one of those teams, possibly, that can give one of these teams a game.
Yep.
I think LaSalle might be third best. Do you see anyone? Do you see it?
Possibly Harvard Westlake.
Harvard Westlake is
That's a week 9 game that they're playing.
They've played a schedule that hasn't been impressive, but they've won a lot of games.
Bunch of games, but they also got thumped pretty good by Cathedral Saturday night in their homecoming game. So I could possibly see that.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, the only teams that could beat St. Francis would be St. Francis.
Right, and we're looking for big games in the passing area, and this is really it this week. It's St. Francis 2 weeks in a row, and St. Francis has put himself in that position, having the year they are. They're, on the west side, they're what Charter Oak is on the east side. Come and get us.
Yes, right.
Come and get us.
And they know it too.
And LaSalle's the next one. And we're going to see how Mr. C.J. Montez does as a freshman in a big game like this. Let's see how he handles his first run at St. Francis. I have the feeling he's someone who can handle it, but this just might be too tall of an order, James, in your first year. But we'll see. If they stay within 2 touchdowns, I would be impressed. I think that's a potential to get away from. I like St. Francis at least by 2.
CalPreps has the game 42-17 in favor of St.
Even
Francis.
worse. And it could be that bad. St. Francis is that good.
But this is one of those resume games that when it comes to week 10, and if you're part of that CIF playoff committee and you're looking at seeds, this is the game in which you have to show the powers that be.
I really wonder what happens. This is the last thing, and this is getting away from this, because I think everyone in the valley, whether west side, east side, is interested in that. Charter Oak and St. Francis really have a chance to go undefeated, both be 10-0.
Yeah.
Who gets that #1 seed? I know Charter Oak has it right now, but when you look at resumes, when you look at strength of schedules down the line, if they both go 10-0, and I look at strength of schedules, to me that edge might go to St. Francis when you talk about Cathedral, some of their non-league wins, and as great as Charter Oak has been, James, that non-league, and it's been a local non-league games, that big, but I don't know how much those local non-league games are going to impress the pollsters at the end of the year. We're going to have to see.
Well, your favorite bracketologist will be back in action in 2 weeks. We'll not only take a look at the possible seeds and where teams are. We'll take a look at that because
that's going to be a whole show in itself before that happens.
Yes, and because what needs to be recognized here is that the committee will look at the wild card criteria. They will also use that to determine who the top seeds are. So strength of schedule, common opponents, everything will come into play that week. But first, you got to handle the business, and the business has to be handled if you're involved with St. Francis. They're heavily favored to take on as they take on LaSalle on Friday night. Make sure you're following Fred and myself. We got some staff guys will be at the game as well. We'll have it all on our social media platforms, on the internet, on Twitter and Facebook, and make sure you're following us on Friday night. It's St. Francis at LaSalle. Thank you.